Raphael is a typical one-year-old who lives with his parents in a suburban community west of Boston. Like most kids his age, he likes to play with his toys, mess with his food, and work on his walking. His life is conventional in every way but one. Raphael's parents are both dads.
It has been wonderful. Yes. I mean, parents gush about their kids, I guess, but I mean, we have to, because he really has been wonderful.
Greg Lopolis and Greg Lipschutz met as students at Harvard 18 years ago. They've been together ever since. As a young gay couple, they were resigned to the fact that they would never have children.
I very early on understood that I was gay and just assumed that this wouldn't be part of my life, having kids and being married and all of that. So I didn't really think about it, or maybe it's better to say I didn't allow myself to think about it.
That changed 5 years ago when the couple met other gay parents who were successfully raising children. They began a long process of soul-searching and planning for what would eventually lead to the adoption of their son, Raphael.
There was no option of doing it without thought, planning, and a lot of care going into it. And I think that's good, because it really forced us to think about a lot about what our motivations were and what do we want for a child, what do we want for someone we're going to raise and bring into the world. Goes the weasel. You like that.
The route to Raphael was not easy. Only 13 states permit single gay men or lesbians to adopt at all. And while Massachusetts is one of the few which allows both partners to become legal parents, many adoption agencies refuse to consider the couple because they are gay. They persisted, though, and last November, just 1 week after he was born, little Raphael entered their life.
We both sort of find ourselves feeling very comfortable with that role as parents. It's been exhausting, it's been wonderful, it's been terrifying. That's parenthood. That's what parenthood is about.
Whatever rights and status homosexuals may have gained over the past 25 years, the notion of them living in quasi-nuclear families continues to stir a great deal of uneasiness, if not outright hostility. Congress passed and President Clinton signed the so-called Defense of Marriage Act, which allows states to ban same-sex marriages. But gay and lesbian families are a fact of the 90s, and tens of thousands of them are opting to have children. So many, in fact, that some are calling it the gayby boom.
Researchers don't know exactly how many gay and lesbian families there are, but estimate between 6 and 14 million children in this country have at least one gay parent. Yet resistance to gay adoption remains strong. Had the two Gregs lived in New Hampshire, they would have been barred from adopting Raphael. State Representative Mildred Ingram explained the ban's rationale when it became law in 1987.
Homosexuals, the only way they can sustain their lifestyle is to proselytize, and I don't want any child subjected to that.
Are children raised by homosexuals just as emotionally healthy as those from more traditional unions? Research done so far has shown that they are, and that kids from those families are no more likely to become gay than their peers. It is an issue many gay parents are sensitive to.
The studies that have looked so far have found that children of gay and lesbian families are no more likely to be gay. But I mean, I don't know that we feel that strongly one way or the other. And I think that's the message that we want him to have, is that, yeah, there are difficulties being gay, but we hope that if he is gay, that we'll be able to help him to deal with that he'll be more comfortable with it. And if he's not, then we hope that he'll be more comfortable with gay families.
Gay and lesbian families do face a host of nettlesome, often wrenching issues. For many, the problems they encounter don't stem from within their own families, but from outside their door and society's reaction. Jennifer Firestone is a professional gay family counselor in Boston.
The most difficult time is between the ages of 11 and 15 or 16. Kids are very scared that their friends will put them down or won't be friends with them, or that they'll get teased, and they do. There's a lot of very hostile stuff that goes on in schools that I'm not sure teachers and principals intervene in a way that they should, which is to say, that they should no sooner call a child a faggot than they would call him or her a nigger. That it just shouldn't be tolerated.
A lot of life is unfair. There's a lot that's wrong in the world. Part of our job as parents, part of the job of any parents, is to help our children deal with the fact that there is a lot of unfairness. that may be hard for a child to understand. You know, why kids might be teasing or taunting him about something or other. Who knows whether it's going to be about his parents being gay. We don't even know that. But he'll have no trouble understanding that he's loved. Kids don't come into the world with preconceived ideas about who should love them. And that's really powerful.
Come on, bud.
Amy Mckenzie and Stacey Stiles live in a small town in western Massachusetts and have been together since 1984. 3 years after they became a couple, Amy gave birth to their daughter Liza.
It was just this really strong desire to have a kid and to have a family, and there are such things as sperm banks out there. I was with the person I expected to be with for the rest of my life, and what could make more sense?
I had her biologically, but we had her together.
Right. You know, one of the first things that we discussed in getting together was how each other felt about having kids, and thankfully both of us wanted kids.
As with many gay and lesbian families, Amy and Stacey have had to continually explain their circumstances to others. It is an ongoing process of a family coming out to teachers, co-workers, and new acquaintances.
You know, the birthday parties where I drop her off and introduce myself as Liza's mom. Amy picks her up.
comes again.
You know, where we go around, you know, the open house in September. Oh, well, I'm Liza's mom. No, I'm Liza's mom.
Yeah, it feels like, what was that show that used to be on? To tell the truth, yeah. But
Which is the real mom.
yeah.
By all appearances, Liza is a well-adjusted 9-year-old, part of a loving family that just happens to have 2 moms. It's the only family she's ever known and is completely normal to her. But she recognizes others don't understand her situation. Sometimes that causes problems in school.
It's not like there's anything really different, because we like to do basically the same things as other families, and there's no real difference except that I have 2 moms.
What kinds of things did your friends tease you about? What would they say to you?
Well, it wouldn't really be my friends usually. It'd be this group of boys who would just say, like, "Oh, you're gay," and that my family was disgusting and stuff like that. Sometimes I would quiz them. What does gay mean? They could never answer it. But I just ignore them usually.
She, on her own, has become aware of how her family is different. And so we've attempted to give her words to be able to talk about that. We have the challenge of helping our kid be who they are in a world that doesn't understand their family.
A family is just a family, no matter how many people are on it or what kind of family they have.
If you could answer this question, what is your definition of a family? Have you thought about that?
A bunch of people, or not so many, that love each other. I don't know.
Do that one.
But is love enough? The fact that gay and lesbian households lack one of the traditional parental role models is troubling for some. Gay parents point out that their children are exposed to a variety of role models in the culture at large, and many say they deal with the issue by incorporating important others into the fabric of their family life, the way many single parents do.
I think it is really important for kids to have positive male role models as well as positive women in their lives. I don't feel necessarily that a male and female parenting group is necessarily better than 2 women or 2 men parenting or single parents. But we live in a world of men and women, and it is important to have positive role models for Liza.
Liza is confident and happy with her family, in part because her mothers are secure and open about who they are. But some children in gay and lesbian families have had a tougher time. In past generations, the children of homosexual parents were likely to be the product of a heterosexual marriage. Some kids had to adjust to their parents' divorce as well as the changing sexual identity of mom or dad. 13 years ago, when Anna and Molly Heller were becoming teenagers, they were shocked to discover that their mother, divorced from their father for 2 years, had begun seeing a woman. They spent much of their subsequent adolescence trying to hide their mother's new lesbian identity.
I was afraid that my friends wouldn't like me anymore. That was
Rejection.
Absolutely.
I mean, you hear, and you still do, you hear gay jokes in school every day. Every day.
For me, I lived for 5 years every day being afraid, every day running home from school and hiding things and books and pictures and just so afraid. Every day when friends would come over. And I found out when I was 21 that they all knew. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. They all knew. So I've been carrying that. I said, why didn't you tell me? I've been living in fear all these years. Why didn't you tell me? It was a friend of mine, and she said, because I wanted you to tell me. That wasn't my place. You needed to tell me.
Their family's experience inspired the sisters to start what has become a national support group for children with gay and lesbian parents called Collage.
For a lot of them, that's all they need, that they really know that they're not alone. There are thousands of families that are like mine, and there's nothing wrong with us. We're healthy, fun, we do our homework, we get in trouble, we do the dishes, all the things that
we're pretty normal kids, I think people have this idea that children who come from gay parents have horns and are so strange and they're the most wonderful kids that we've met.
Gay and lesbian families have existed for years, but recently they seem to be moving into the mainstream. Major articles in issues of U.S. News and World Report, People magazine, and Newsweek have told their stories. A unique photo exhibit created in Massachusetts documents the lives of various gay and lesbian parents and their children. Called Love Makes a Family, it has been exhibited in schools and workplaces throughout the country.
I think the message that, love makes a family is one that really comes across loud and clear, both in the text and in the photos. It's putting faces to stereotypes, it's putting the faces of families and the people that they love up front, and that disarms almost everyone.
But being open does not always mean being accepted. Many gay parents still live in fear that their families could be torn apart at any time. They point to well-publicized legal cases like the 1995 Virginia Supreme Court ruling in which Sharon Bottoms, because she is a lesbian, is considered an unfit parent, thereby forcing her to surrender custody of her 5-year-old son. Or the recent Florida ruling in which Mary Ward, who is also lesbian, is less fit as a parent than her ex-husband John, despite the fact that John served 8 years in prison for murdering his first wife.
Why the resistance to gay and lesbian families? Opponents see their acceptance as a threat to conventional values, values which they insist should remain untouched.
This is part of the destruction and meltdown of the American culture. If it feels good, do it. But hey, there is right and there is wrong, and this is clearly not morally right.
Reverend Lou Sheldon is the head of the Traditional Values Coalition, a group representing conservative Christian churches.
All it wants to try and change the culture, come up with a new kind of process, that is what America doesn't want.
What about general attitudes regarding gay and lesbian families? Though most still oppose gay adoption, a recent Newsweek poll found that the majority of those surveyed believe gays can be as good at parenting as straight people. Despite the religious and political debate swirling around them, gay and lesbian families will go on, with the same hopes and fears of parents everywhere.
We want him to be healthy and happy. We want him to feel proud of himself. We'd like to be able to prepare him to be strong enough to deal with all the stuff that he'll have to deal with in the world. Part of the reason we're doing this, it's not without some risk. This wasn't just a casual decision to do this interview. Hopefully it will educate some people. It will allow people to see us for who we are. We're real people, flesh and blood and all of that. But I think most of all, we're doing this because we want to do our part to make the world safer for Raphael.
My hopes for her are that she has as easy a time as possible being who she wants to be. I hope that she finds that her parents don't get in her way too much. I really long for the day when, being a lesbian is as interesting as being left-handed. I think as there are more kids of lesbian and gay parents in the world, then by necessity, school systems change, attitudes change, little bit by little bit.